Minnesota. It's
Yeah.
not snowing yet, is it?
No.
Well, I
It
mean, it's
got down into the
September.
50s. It got down into the 50s last night, but this week we're gonna hit 90, they say,
Wow.
again.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
some cool
so
nights. It was kind of neat, good sleeping weather.
oh, it's
Yeah,
great sleeping weather. That's why the fall is my favorite time of year,
yeah.
the
Sorry
spring
about
and
your
fall.
sorry about your twins. Our Indians or Guardians, whatever we call them now, are. I think we're gonna take that division, hopefully.
You're gonna take the division. The
Yeah.
Twins have just been tanking when it matters the most, so, yeah, I mean, we lost to the Royals, for Pete's sake. We got
I think we
swept.
lost a couple of games to the Royals. Like, how could you lose to the Royals? That's even worse than
Uh,
Minnesota. But our Browns are looking stellar. Oh
Nope.
God. It was
Nope.
so
Nope.
there was a stat in the third quarter of the Browns game that 50% of our plays were 0 or negative yards. We had $230 million quarterback, but
Yeah. Well, the Vikings, though, my team, my NFL team, I grew up in Minnesota, so I
yeah.
don't, the people in the community in Ohio don't hate me, but I am a Vikings fan. But wow, the expectations are low for the team this year. And we didn't play a great team. We played the Giants, but we destroyed them. So that helps.
Who's your quarterback now?
It's some third string guy they picked up. Yeah, but he looked good.
So, topic for today is combating inflation, and how this all came about is
Sure.
I was in Panera yesterday morning, and I meet some guys to have breakfast now and again, and I bought an oatmeal, and it was $7.33 for a bowl of oatmeal.
For a bowl of oatmeal?
Well, it did have a couple pecans on it, but or pecans or whatever I don't know
Yeah,
how you
pecans.
Yeah, so I'm like, we got to talk about inflation because people are thinking that there's no inflation, but I just paid $7.33 for a bowl of oatmeal.
Without the pecans, though, I'm telling you, it would have been 50 cents.
Yeah,
It's the pecans.
it must have been the pecans. I
No,
call them
that's terrible.
pecans. I don't know what a
No,
lot of people
it's
call them
pecan.
pecan.
It's pecan, I think. But you say pecan, I say pecan.
Yeah,
It doesn't
tomato,
matter.
tomato, right?
Yeah.
So I was looking up on the internet a little bit, just get a little list of what you can do to combat inflation. Obviously, you can't personally do anything to change what's going on in the economy, but
Right.
For your budget, for your personal budget, there's a few things you can do, right?
Sure. Well, I want to add before you jump into that, eggs have just skyrocketed. They say that's because of the bird flu, but I mean, it's like it was over $4 a dozen the other day.
Well, I don't understand. How come chicken hasn't gone up?
Yeah, that's weird. The eggs have, but the chicken hasn't. I guess we know which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Well, the eggs do apparently.
Yeah, I have a friend who owns a deli, and he was same thing. So we were talking about eggs, and he was like, "Well, he thinks it's a lot of malarkey because the cost of chicken didn't proportionally go up. If eggs are 3 times the price, how come chicken's not 3 times the price, right?"
Right. And they are about 3 times the price at least, and some places worse. So I don't understand why eggs go up and the chicken hasn't went up. That's true. It's the old thing, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, right?
Okay, so in no particular order, I hate to use the word budget, but kind of review your, I would call it spending, review your spending for the month and see if there's anything you can cut back on. Some of the things we looked at, all those streaming services, how much you spending on TV, for Christ's sake? We got ours down to we have Spectrum, and I think we have, I don't know, Hulu or something. But other than that, we don't have a lot of streaming services because I noticed that a lot of people say they're spending $200-$300 a month just on streaming services. And they're probably not even watching half of them when they have. So maybe there's somewhere you can pick up some money, or look at your internet bill, your cell phone bill. A lot of internet and cell phone, you're running $200-$300 a month. So I think you could probably save some money there. Hate to say it, but the grocery store prices are probably the part of the inflation that most people see that is not correlated to what they're telling you. I mean, they're telling you inflation's 3, 4, 5%, but I think grocery prices in the last 2 or 3 years have probably gone up 100%.
Right. Well, they just came out with their new inflation numbers and they said, oh, it's only about 2 point whatever
Yeah, but
percent
it
now.
doesn't include food.
No,
So,
that's the problem.
and
I know they,
I don't
and
think it includes housing, and I don't think it includes fuel and food. So, I mean,
it doesn't include energy or food. So, and
those are
those are
pretty
the
big budget items for most Americans, right?
well, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, especially those things affect everyone, but they really hit hard to the middle class
Sure. Yeah.
and the lower class. So, or middle class and the poor are affected more by that. But yeah, I don't know why they don't include. They should include food.
Well,
I mean,
and when you have an
groceries is the
electric
first
car, you
thing.
don't have to worry about that, right? By the way, Tony has an electric. It's all electric, right?
No, no,
Oh,
it's
it's got
a
gas.
unique one.
Okay.
It's the Volt. So
Yeah.
it's the Volt, and it's not a hybrid. It's an electric car that you plug in, but it also has a 4-cylinder gas
Oh.
engine that generates power to the
Oh,
battery.
cool.
So it's always
Okay.
running on electric.
All
But
right.
it doesn't matter. I can drive as long as I want, as long as I have gas in it. But I rarely put gas in it. But
So
I don't think all electric. We're not ready for that yet.
no, and speaking of gas, maybe like gas, there's different grades of gas. So if
Yeah.
you're used to getting 91 grade of
Yep.
gas, maybe it's time to get 89 or 87.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
sometimes
true.
it's 20, 30 cents difference a gallon. So if
Oh,
you got
it is a huge difference. I
yeah,
know because in my Volt, I have to use, they say you have to use premium.
oh yeah,
So
so
I don't
premium is
use,
like $3, $4 a gallon,
yeah,
more than
yeah,
that, right? So
yeah, it is. I hardly ever fill with gas, but when I do, it hurts because I have to pay the
yeah,
higher
so
price. So
I
yeah.
have a little midlife crisis convertible that I bought, and
Oh, of
that's it.
course.
That takes the premium gas, and that last time I filled it up was 4.79 a gallon for
Yeah,
the premium.
crazy.
The regular gas is $3 a gallon.
Of course,
But the premium,
it's all coming down a little bit now.
yeah.
It's come down a little bit. That's good.
So the other things we looked at in budgeting a little bit are maybe buying some generic food instead of the name brand food.
Right.
Peanuts are peanuts. Get the generic peanuts versus Skippy, right? Whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
and I hate to say, man, once in a while you eat hamburger instead of steak. So there are ways to kind of trim your budget, but
Yep.
you're spending. You just have to take a good look at it.
And some of these might sound small, like, well, that's not a big deal, but you know what? It adds up.
Oh yeah,
It's the
yep,
money you save over a year
yeah,
in cutting back on some of these things, canceling the streaming services, like you
oh yeah.
said, trying to be more thrifty with your grocery shopping and
The other
eating
thing,
out
yeah,
less.
eating out is, and I'm guilty of it too because I usually do have breakfast. I meet some guys 3 or 4 days a week for
Yeah.
breakfast. So, um, but usually dinner at home, lunch
Yeah.
maybe, yeah. But eating out, and even when you eat out, you can. Nothing wrong with doing it, but have the water instead of the pop because pop was $3 a glass. So I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things you can do to kind of when you're eating out, try to be a little more thrifty.
Well, one thing, Chris, I do to save money eating out, a big tip, I try to go eat out with Chris Anselmo as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then I short arm, what they call it, short arm the bill when the bill comes.
Alligator arms,
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I can't quite get it. Yeah,
like my kid, the bank of dad.
yeah,
So, but yeah, the other thing is maybe bring a lunch.
yeah.
You don't have to go out for
I
lunch.
do
I mean, you
that.
can bring a lunch.
I eat breakfast out a lot, but I don't. I don't ever eat lunch out.
Yeah, I mean,
And I eat
breakfast is one of
dinner
the
at home.
yeah, breakfast is one of the cheaper meals to eat out, but it's
Yeah,
still, I mean, it could be 10, 15. I mean,
it adds up.
crazy.
Oh
Right? I
yeah,
mean, look at
nowadays
my bowl of oatmeal.
you drive through God forbid, you go to McDonald's and have a breakfast sandwich, a coffee, and a
Yeah, I
hash
mean,
browns. It's
they used to be 2
outrageously
for
expensive.
$4. Now they're
Yeah,
$4.50 a piece or something. But
yeah,
the other thing when you're eating out is like the one restaurant we go to for breakfast a lot of the guys got we go to Panera, so they bought the Sip Club thing. So it's
yep.
like, 10, $12 a month, you get unlimited drinks, right? So that may be a way of saving. Somebody says spend $3, $4 on a drink or a coffee, if you get one of those if you're going to go there enough. Other things, paying down debt. Got to get rid of that credit card debt.
Yep.
The credit card debt's super expensive. The interest rates on credit cards are probably north of 24% or better, and primarily because that's what we call unsecured debt. So for the lenders out there, that's the riskiest debt to have. They don't have security of a house or a car or something like that, so they get stuck on a lot of those. So how they make it up is they have to charge interest rates, and your interest rate normally is going to be dependent on your credit rating. So if the better credit rating you have, the lower interest credit cards you can get. Like, I prefer not to pay any interest on credit cards, but if you
Right,
have
you and
to,
me both.
right? So if you have to, then look for the lowest rate, right? So
Right.
people think it's unfair that if you have bad credit, you have to pay more interest rate. But look, at the end of the day, if you have poor credit, you're a bigger risk for the lender, for the credit card company.
Mhm.
I mean, the reason you have poor credit is somewhere down the line you didn't pay off your debts, right? So so try to get either low interest rate credit cards if you use, or the ones that have cash back. So I all those points and stuff on the credit cards, I can't keep track of all that, and I don't know why is 1 point or 10,000 points equal $1, right? So
Yeah,
cash back seems a little simpler. So there's a lot
yeah,
of cash back credit cards. Um, Other sources of income. Some people take side jobs. If they have to, they're driving for Uber, they're driving for delivery services, or maybe work some overtime. If you have
yeah,
the
that's a
ability
good
where,
one.
where you get paid overtime, a lot of people like ourselves are. If we're on a salary, we really don't get overtime. But if you have a job that can pay you overtime and there's overtime available, take it. Right. So I'm not saying you have to work 80 hours a week, but another 10 hours might might do some good.
Yeah, I mean, that's really popular right now, Chris, a side hustle or
Yeah.
what they call the gig economy. Get a job doing something you like or that's
Be a
easy to
radio
do.
host.
Yeah, be a radio show co-host. I do
That
voiceover.
that that pays a lot, right?
Uh,
But
Chris,
you got that
keep that
voice. You
sense
can
of
you
humor.
can probably do voiceovers. I mean,
I do. Yeah,
for
I
those,
do. I do voiceovers on the side. I've done a couple of audiobooks, so I like doing that,
like
and I
like
like
all
having a.
those uh all the Disney characters, the animated ones,
Oh
right?
yeah.
There's people doing all those voices, right?
Oh, now they make money. That's a tough thing to get into. A lot of people think people say I've got a good voice. I want to do voiceovers. It's a tough nut to crack. I've been
Yeah.
doing radio for 35 years, so that helps. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. On the side, I also buy and sell records.
All right.
I
I see that on Facebook a little bit.
yeah, I sell records a lot on some different
Vinyl
sites.
records
Vinyl
for the
records.
young.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have any young people listening to that, but there are things called records. They're like
yeah.
big black things, and but
Yep.
banking, look for maybe some higher interest rate checking savings accounts. A little bit, if you earn a little bit interest here and there, that'll help. Unfortunately, a lot of times the checking savings accounts pay nothing. So the banks,
Right.
they're just, I even know in our bank, some of our corporate accounts, we've asked for years, like, how come the corporate accounts are paying nothing? So maybe you have to move some money around for different banks to try and get some higher interest rates. Um, what else? Less eating out. We talked about one I saw online that once had moved to a cheaper city.
Hmm. Yeah, relocating or
Yeah, I mean,
downsizing, right?
I don't think of that often because Cleveland and I'm sure Minnesota, they're pretty reasonable rates. Places
Yeah.
like there's a lot of people moving to Ohio, believe it or
Oh,
not,
yeah, yeah.
because you live out in California, out west, or some of these New Yorks and San Franciscos and the bigger cities. I mean, they're expensive. I mean,
Very expensive.
probably a year or two ago, since my son lives in Denver, I was looking at
Mhm.
some thing online that said the top 25 cities, average cost of housing in the top 25 cities. And Cleveland was 24th out of 25. Our average house a couple years ago was $194,000.
Wow, that's really low.
Denver's was 651 for an average house.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's higher here just because of the Twin Cities,
right.
but yeah,
The
it is.
Midwest cost of living is cheaper than being on the
Oh,
coast, right?
by far. Yeah. I mean, I have friends in San Diego and it's just, it's astronomical
Yeah, so
compared
there
to
are
here.
people that are just leaving those states and
Yep.
moving back back east or back to the
Yeah.
Midwest because
So
you know,
relocating could be one way to save money. What about that ties into
yeah.
downsizing,
So
right?
some
That's
people,
another way to save
right?
money.
So downsizing your house or even downsizing your car, right?
Oh, yeah, I never
You
thought of
might end
that.
up getting a Volt, right? Or now it's a Bolt, right?
Yeah, they don't make volts anymore.
So downsizing cars, the cars are really expensive now.
Yeah.
You see pickup trucks out there that are approaching $100,000. I mean, like
Yeah.
my first house was 58,000. I could have bought two houses for what they're paying for a pickup truck or a big SUV right now.
Yeah, that's
And,
crazy.
and especially like if you have had those bigger cars because you had kids and you needed the room, you needed the third row and all, maybe you don't need it anymore. So,
Right.
or there's nothing wrong with buying a used car either. I've seen
No,
some people.
slightly used, low
Yeah,
mile used, you're gonna save thousands of dollars, and really, I mean,
I've seen.
all you're skipping is the depreciation
Yeah,
when
I've
you
seen
drive it off the
people
lot.
actually buy cars from like Hertz and Enterprise.
Yep.
People think people abuse those cars, but those companies also maintain those cars, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you get a higher end car there, it's less likely that um, the young kids are abusing the Cadillac. I don't even if they have Cadillac. You know what I'm saying? An upper
Yeah.
end car might be a little better.
True.
So, downgrading a home, a lot of our seniors, couple reasons they don't want to go up steps anymore, right? So maybe they get a
One
smaller
level
house,
living.
one level living. The other comment was, hey, if you're a young person, maybe get a roommate.
True.
A roommate can, cut. I don't say it's going to cut it necessarily in half, but it's going to cut into maybe a third at least, right? So if you are inclined to get a roommate, that wouldn't be a bad idea. The other one we saw was commuting less. So, or if you're going to do your errands, your grocery shop, like do them all at one time, right? Don't go to the store, then come back home, then go to the hardware store and come back home and go to the gym and come back home and go to church and then so do them all at one time, so you're saving a little bit of gas and time and energy there. Um, so be efficient about what we call chores or errands or whatever. The other one I saw was maybe you take public transportation. If you're going downtown every day and you got to drive, not only you drive the wear and tear in your car, but you're paying for parking. Yeah, parking is pretty reasonable here in Cleveland. But I know when I go down to see the Indians or
Oh,
Guardians, whatever they're called,
yeah.
um, there I usually park at this casino there, and but if I don't have a parking pass, it's $60 to park.
Yeah,
I mean,
crazy.
it means a few years ago it was $20. So $20 isn't bad, but so maybe you take the bus downtown, right? So if you have that ability, you're in a major city, Tony. So I'm sure there's rails or what we call rapid
Yep.
transits here that would go
Light
down to,
rail is what
yeah,
we call it.
or a bus that would go down to, I don't know what you call
Yeah, there's
ours is called rapid transit.
yeah.
They're not subways, they're above ground, trains
Yeah.
basically.
Ours are called light rail, and
Yeah.
yeah, you take public transportation or there's park and rides.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of the public transportation ones you can buy a yearly pass. So
Yeah.
you can go on
Sometimes
as
they
many times as
do,
you want.
if you have a ticket to the game, you ride free.
Oh, well, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, I'm going to the game tomorrow night. So
Are you? Yeah, the Indians or the the Guardians are doing good.
yeah, they're doing well. Actually, I think they have the best record in the American League, which is
Yeah.
pretty good. I mean, we had a
Yeah.
little slide there for a while. I think Minnesota or Kansas, one of you caught us for a day or two, but now I think we're
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 games up. But
Yeah, we
there's only
fell
a couple
apart. The
weeks left.
Twins fell apart, so you don't need to worry about us anymore.
Well, you got the Vikings at least, right? So
Yeah, they actually look good.
there's always high hopes for the Browns every year,
Yep.
and then they get crushed in game one or two. So
Yeah.
it was funny because we were watching the game and we got the first 3 points. So I'm like, the Super Bowl bound, and all the texting's going the Super Bowl. All my buddies, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they scored a touchdown. We're like, maybe next year, right? So I mean, we've never been to a Super Bowl.
Fair weather fans. Vikings have been 4 times and lost 4 times, but
Yeah, but at
yeah,
least you've been, right? Well, I
yeah,
mean, the Browns had a big history of winning before the Super Bowl. We had like, I don't know, 9 championships or something, or 8
yeah.
championships before that. But once the
We've
Super
had a
Bowl,
lot of the Vikings have had a lot of division champs and even NFC or they just can't make it past the NFC hurdle to get to the Super Bowl and or win it.
so there was an article I saw in Forbes. It was called 101 ways to simple ways to lower your living expenses. So that might be, if you're listening, you might want to go check that article. Tony, anything in particular you guys are doing to try and combat this inflation?
Well, I mean, we're just trying to watch what we eat. I mean, the food prices we buy fewer groceries and we eat out less. Just
Buy in bulk, go to
yeah,
Costco, Sam's, whatever.
we do.
Walmart.
We do some of that. We actually we hadn't been coupon clippers in a long time. We are again now. We buy stuff on sale. If we're going to buy some pop, we wait till it's on sale because otherwise it's outrageously expensive. Groceries are just outrageously high. It's crazy. Eating out is crazy. So we're just doing less of it.
Yeah, the grocery one, just a couple months ago, I don't do the grocery. My wife does all that stuff for me, thank God. But she was under the weather one weekend, and I might have mentioned this before, but so I went in. I said, I'm just going to go get lunch meats and bread and tomatoes and onions. We'll just have sandwiches.
Basics.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I went in there and tomatoes were $5 a pound. So when I first looked at it, I thought it was like $5 for a bag of them or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've told you before that I grew up and my family's been in produce for over 100 years, right?
Yeah.
So I could see my dad looking down from heaven. You are not buying tomatoes for $5 a pound. So we didn't have tomatoes that day. I mean, I could afford it, but I like $5 a pound, and onions were like $3 a pound.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be like 3 pounds for $1, right? So it's kind of getting crazy.
Yeah, grow them in your garden. They're easy to grow. I mean, fairly easy.
Keep the animals from eating them. So
yeah,
here, I mean, people have like fortresses around there. We have so many deer here.
Yeah,
incredible amount of deer. And we have tens of thousands of deer.
Yeah, we have a lot of deer here too,
and they eat everything. So
yeah, you have to have a pretty tall fence.
Yeah.
My neighbor has a garden; it's fenced in. And last night he handed me over some tomatoes. He handed me 3 nice big tomatoes over the fence, and he said, and I said, "Wow, thanks." And he goes, "Yeah, I just handed you about $7 worth of vegetables right there."
Plus, the fence is all. Then I have a friend who has a garden. He says, "Yeah, but then the rabbits get underneath, and
they
do. Whatever the other animals are, they get underneath there, and they're eating everything in sight too." So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, today I thought it was a good topic because of my oatmeal. And hopefully some people will take heed of this and maybe it'll help them out a bit. But we're almost about out of time, so we will call it a day. And Tony, any parting thoughts?
Well, just for our podcast listeners who aren't watching the video, give the phone number and website out in case they want to set up a consultation or have questions for you, Chris.
It's 440-886-3550. And our website is brooksidetax.com. But how could they not watch us? I mean, we have 2 perfect faces for radio. I mean, you guys got to get on the YouTube and watch us. Because we do have a running joke in my office. Every time I come up with a good idea, I say, I'm not just here for my looks, So I tell my daughter then, she goes, "Well, Dad, nobody ever said you were," right? So
yeah, I love it. Well, Chris, thanks. And again, folks, call Chris and the staff there. They'll help you out. 440-886-3550. And that does it for today's episode of The Road to Retirement with our host, the man himself, Chris Anselmo.
All right, Tony. See you next week.